Hey, everybody, what's up? It's your boy MJ, and welcome to Before the Pour, the Black Wine Guy Experience, aka 20 Questions with MJ. My guest today is a true living legend in the world of wine and wine education, Mr. Kevin Zraly. I want to just call him Mr. Zraly just for that, because he's the guy. Kevin is best known from his time as the wine director for Windows on the World and founder of the Windows on the World Wine School on the 106th and 107th floors of the New York City's World Trade Center. After the loss of the restaurant, sadly, on September 11th in 2001, Mr. Zraly continued the wine school for another 15 years at the Marriott Marquis in Manhattan, ultimately educating more than 20,000 wine lovers over the course of 40 years. In addition, he's written 8 books about wine and food, including his annually updated Windows on the World Complete Wine Course, which is the best-selling wine book in the world. That's it. That's it, guys. He also co-authored the definitive book about red wine, aptly named Red Wine, with the world wine guys Mike DeSimone and Jeff Jensen. Kevin is also the youngest person to receive the James Beard Lifetime Achievement Award in 2011, recognized for his commitment to making the study of wine accessible and fun to all, as well as for his monumental contributions to the world of food, wine, and hospitality. There's so much more we'll get into during the depth of the episode. Welcome, Kevin.
Well, thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here. It's my first time in New York City in 15 months.
Wow.
15 months. It's the first time really in my life, because I grew up in Westchester and Pleasantville, New York, home of Reader's Digest, by the way. No, I bring that up because that book is the Reader's Digest version of wine.
Oh, my God.
Wine book.
All right, well, we're going to warm up right now. There's going to be so much good stuff we're gonna, to get into. This is going to be fun. I love it. He's a polymath. We have a real polymath. So I'm just going to ask you some personal questions, followed by James Lipton's famous 10 questions from inside the actor's studio. The key is answer them quickly. First thing comes to your head. All right? Ready? Okay. What is your favorite?
Does this have to be clean, by the way?
No.
Okay, fine.
We fucking curse. I'm from
Thanks.
Jersey.
Good.
Right?
I'm with you.
All right. What is your favorite book?
Anything by Ernest Hemingway.
What is your favorite movie?
The Godfather.
Love it. You can't go wrong. Who is your favorite musical artist?
Paul McCartney.
Amazing singer-songwriter. Amazing. What's your favorite food? Death Row. What are you having, Kev?
Roasted chicken. There's a story behind that.
We'll get into that. I love it. Roast chicken. It's so simple. It's so good.
That's the story.
Yeah. It's so good. Just a simple roasted chicken. Who's your favorite athlete?
I'm an athlete, so that's a tough question. But I definitely go towards quarterbacks.
Okay.
So there's a fellow out in Green Bay that's having a few problems right now, whether he's going to come back or not. Aaron Rodgers.
Is he going to do a Brady, go somewhere and then win a Super Bowl?
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah. I like Aaron a little bit more than Brady, only because of where they came from. That's all. Cool. They're both great.
I don't like Brady because I'm sadly a Jets fan.
Yeah.
I'm
not going to go there
yeah,
either.
Exactly. Okay. What was your favorite cartoon character as a child?
Mickey Mouse.
All right. What was your favorite cereal?
Cheerios. I'm very plain Jane here right now.
No,
Cheerios are still good for you, actually.
I know. They're heart healthy.
Yeah. That's on the front cover. It's very good.
So you said earlier you're an athlete. What's your current exercise routine?
Ooh, that's a great question. Since the pandemic began, I ride my bike at least 10 miles a day, and I've gone over 3,000 miles every day, and I take pictures in the same spot, 6 different areas. I take pictures of the sunset. So I have 5,000 pictures of the sunset since last March.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm going to put them into posters. I'll give you one for free.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. We love having guests on the show. We get free things and great bottles of wine. Okay, who is your favorite comedian?
Come back to that one.
Okay.
That's George Carlin.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to go with George. I actually do George. In my classes, You don't die anymore. You just pass away. That's George Carlin for you.
Oh, I love it. Obviously, you've had a lot of bottles of wine with a lot of amazing people, but who would you most like to have a bottle of wine with?
Paul McCartney. So I'm a musician, you gotta go with the flow here right now. I think he drinks wine. I know he's a vegetarian, but I think he drinks wine.
He drinks wine.
Ringo doesn't. Ringo doesn't drink anymore.
Wine's a vegetable product.
Yeah.
It's a fruit product. Okay, now we're going to do the questions based on the Proust questionnaire that have been made famous by James Lipton. Kevin, what is your favorite word?
You say what comes into my mind is I'm a word freak, so that's a tough one as well. End.
Okay. What is your least favorite word?
How much time do we have again? I mean, we can come back to this later on, right?
Yeah, we can come back, of course.
Least favorite word. By the way, do I get graded on this?
There's no...
isn't that like one of those things that you...
Just extra credit for really cool
credit.
answers, but no wrong answers.
Shit.
Okay.
Okay?
All right.
I mean, I like the manure aspect.
Right.
But shit doesn't work,
Nobody likes to get shit.
Bullshit.
But shit happens, and we all go through shit.
Have you had Forrest Gump on yet?
We have not. Okay, he's going to show up. Okay. All right. What turns you on?
Nature.
Then what turns you off?
Nature.
Wow.
What are you drinking, bud?
This is bonus material, but I'll tell you guys, this 68 Heights Martha's Vineyard Cabernet Sauvignon is singing right now. We're going to make sure we knock this out in the first hour so it doesn't fade too much. So, what sound or noise do you love?
Music. Nature. I know you want one word, but they all go together.
It's harmony.
What mindfulness?
Ooh.
Okay, that's the big word for me is mindfulness. I'll talk about that later. I know you want to do your questions.
Well, we're just I just want to get as much of this good stuff in the podcast.
I gotta.
This is the bonus material,
I can't wait to read it. I'm going to hear this. I can't read it. I'm going to hear it.
Exactly.
My mother's going to hear it too.
I love it.
That's why. I'm going to be in a lot of trouble.
I know. Well, and the next not this question, next one will get you in trouble with your mom.
Thanks.
What sound or noise do you hate?
New York City traffic. And it never occurred to me how bad it was until I just got here.
Yeah, right.
And I live in New Paltz, New York, where there's no noise.
Yeah.
And it's been so quiet for 15 months. So I was shocked by coming into the city, even though I lived here for 20 years.
Yeah, it's true. Okay. Mama Zraly, it's not my fault. It's just what I do. I ask questions. What's your favorite curse word?
I actually don't curse. I'm sorry. I actually am so soft and gentle. I am so balanced in my life. You want to call Jacqueline right now? We can call Jacqueline, and she'll tell you.
Okay. All right.
I don't. It's funny, and that could be my Catholic upbringing, by the way.
I'm impressed.
I just went to Pleasantville, New York, where I grew up the other day, last week, and I went back to my church. Is that saying something about me? Because I started wine as an altar boy. You get this?
I know.
picture?
I read that in the research. Yeah.
Well, I talked to Father Matarazzo last week as well, who's down in Louisville, Kentucky. This is the man who taught me Latin, my first language. This is the man that had to have a good glass of red wine, only one, on the table when we had Italian food. So, I just don't. I'm very peaceful. I really am.
You know what? God bless you. Because my mother, very religious. My mother was Jehovah's Witness, and as soon as I could, I started fucking cursing. Man, I was such a rebel. So, she would love the show, but she'd be like, "Why you gotta curse so much?"
Yeah, I was going to actually bring up another comedian, but I think George Carlin is all right with that. No, but there's some that have to. I don't think you have to use curse words.
No, I mean, I'll say Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby was funny as shit. He never cursed. I mean, didn't know what he was doing outside of, but he never cursed.
Right.
And he got on Eddie Murphy about cursing. He's like, why have to use all those curse words? So so I agree, and it's about telling stories. I grew up in Jersey, man.
It's okay.
About Jersey.
Jacqueline moved in. It was from Jersey.
Okay, so I'll ask Jacqueline what it is.
Right.
All right. What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
Music.
Yeah.
I am still, you mentioned, and thank you for mentioning my books because they are my annuity right now. My last child just graduated college.
Yeah.
That's 4 in, 4 out. They all made it to 22, and they've all got a college degree.
So that's at least $500,000.
Are you shitting me? Are you shitting me? That was
At
for
least.
one school.
I was gonna say, I don't know how old they are, but like, yeah, dude, like, I was hoping they got a scholarship or something.
Please buy my book, ladies and gentlemen, because I'm still paying off for the next 20 years or something for that. Did I answer your question?
Oh yeah, you said musician. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, yeah, musician, and so I've written the books.
Right.
Done that. I have 2 screenplays that I've written.
Okay.
And I'm working on my hit song.
Okay.
Okay, it's taking a long time, but we'll talk about the wine nets later.
You just need one.
That's it.
That's all you
I don't know if you play music. All you need is 3 chords.
Oh yeah, no,
3 chords.
Most hit songs have the same 3 chords.
Right.
What profession would you not like to do?
Elementary education.
I agree. Yeah, it's a tough.
I love children.
Right.
But up until 6th grade, all they want is love. By the way, I know this because I have a degree in elementary education. Okay, I'm a history and elementary ed, and I never taught. The kids drove me to drink, and that's what I'm doing today.
Perfect. I love it. And as a lot of parents will attest, even my producer, like when those kids came home, they're like, "Holy shit, teachers need to get paid more."
Well, I'll tell you that
I got to be around my own kid all day.
Yeah, I'll tell you. But if I had known back in when I graduated college how much teachers make, actually they do.
Listen, I know. I worked in education.
Okay.
And like superintendents make $250,000.
That's
And
right.
don't have to do shit.
And they're up. I'm talking about even upstate.
That's what I'm
New
saying.
York.
I know that's a $250K a year job.
Right.
Teachers easily a 80 to 100 year K. Principals 150. My friend's a principal. I was like, shit, why not go into education? Get summers off. Yeah.
In the old days,
great benefits.
I agree. In the old days, the teachers had to work.
Yeah.
That summer was a work job.
Right.
So.
And lastly, if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
You've been a good boy, Kevin, and I'm very happy to see you. And I'm glad that you maintained. You didn't swear
On the Black Wine Guy Experience warm-up show, like that motherfucker MJ.
Right.
I'm gonna have to talk to him when he comes up here. Oh my God, that was so much fun, Kevin. If you guys want more of Kevin, and I know you do, make sure you tune in to our episode of the Black Wine Guy Experience. Cheers.
Better drink it up. Sorry.
It's all good.
Sommelier. Dripped.
Is the air on? Is it hot in here?
Yes.
I just have it on.
It's hot.
It's hot.
The air on? You asked me to put the air on.
Oh, is the air conditioning on? Can you turn on the AC? Can you turn on the AC? Is it AC? Because it's a little warm in here. Thank you.
Must be the wine.
No, they keep it hot.
This
in
is
here.
bottle 669 of
Okay.
8,980 bottles.
All right, we're gonna give it.
Oh, sorry. I don't think we need this anymore, right? No. We got a good picture.
Hey, everybody, what's up? It's your boy MJ, and welcome to the Black Wine Guy Experience. My guest today is a true living legend in the world of wine and wine education. It's Mr. Kevin Zraly. Kevin Zraly is best known from his time as the wine director for the Windows on the World restaurant and founder of the Windows on the World Wine School on the 106th and 107th floors of New York City's World Trade Center. After the loss of the restaurant on September 11th in 2001, Mr. Zraly continued the wine school for another 15 years at the Marriott Marquis in Manhattan. Ultimately, he has helped educate more than 20,000 wine lovers over the course of a 40-year career. In addition, he has written 8 books about wine and food, including his annually updated Windows on the World Complete Wine Course, which has sold more than 4 million copies, and it is the best-selling wine book of all time. He also co-authored the definitive book about red wine. It was aptly named Red Wine. He did that with the World Wine Guys, Mike DeSimone, and Jeff Jensen. Kevin is also the youngest person to receive the James Beard Lifetime Achievement Award in 2011, recognized for his commitment to making the study of wine accessible and fun to all, as well for his monumental contributions to the world of food, wine, and hospitality. There's so much more we'll get into in depth during the show. Welcome, Kevin. Thank you for being here.
Well, thank you. I think it's 45 years ago, this spring, that Windows on the World opened up.
Wow.
45 years ago in May of 1976. And I actually started in 1970. So I'm getting up there now in like towards 50 years of doing this, you know?
Oh, my God.
Actually, it is my anniversary. 1971, I taught my first wine class at a local community college. We'll talk about that as we go on, because I'd like to talk about those days.
Yeah.
Because people always, they say, oh, your Windows on the World. Well, that's where you started. Well, I did my 10,000 hours in a little hamlet in upstate New York.
I love it, and that's what I like to get into. Like, you know, wine, and it's so much more. It's a story behind the wine that really makes these that I find special. So let's talk about, speaking of wine and 53 years. What wine are we drinking this afternoon?
Well, this is first of all, I should say this is a good time to know me, because before the pandemic, okay, so January 1st of 2020, I decided, you know, I got all this wine, and my friends John and Dorothy from the Wall Street Journal would say, open that bottle. What are you, crazy?
Right.
So I'm opening all my old bottles, anything that's over 20 years old. And so this one is our treat because you were born in 1968. By the way, it was the year that I graduated high school. I'm just throwing that in.
Nice.
And also, 68, speaking of wine, who people are probably listening who like wine, 68 was the first year that still wines outsold fortified wines in the United States.
Wow.
That's the big turn, okay? And so we're drinking the Heights Martha's Vineyard, which was given to me by Joe Heights. And he was one of the first wineries I ever visited.
Which I'm sure we'll talk when you did your little walkabout when you left college, and did your walkabout to California? Was that the first
No,
time?
I started studying wines in the Hudson Valley.
Yep.
And I went to all the wineries. There were 3. Then I went to the Finger Lakes, which really wasn't a lot back in those days. And then I took a year off from college. And I couldn't go to California. You could drink in New York State at 18 when I was growing up. But in California, you had to be 21. So I had to wait till my 21st birthday, which was 1972, and I hitchhiked.
Okay.
Because I had no money. It's a recurring theme in my life, by the way. Am I getting paid for this?
Yeah, you know, you're getting paid in God coin. So when you go up to heaven, he's like,
yeah.
Kevin, thank you for going
like
on that
Bitcoin.
podcast. And he's like, I'll take some Bitcoin. Yeah. Okay. So you know, when we were connecting, which and got in touch with your PR person, your team, and she emailed me about what year you were born. And I was like, shit, because 68's not really a good year, but it was a decent. There's some great wines in 68, like this Heights Martha Vineyard. I know the 68 Mondavi also, and that was very revered. So I was like trying to figure. I was like, and I don't know enough about Burgundy, so I was like, is there a Burgundy or anything?
Nope,
I definitely know there was no Bordeaux that was good that year, you know. So this is a treat. I love this wine. I've had the 74. This is the oldest Heights I've had, and it's singing right now. So.
Just so everybody knows, I mean, the cork crumbled. I mean, the cork, I couldn't get it out. Here I am, this master sommelier or whatever I am. And this is typical. You know, how many corks do I break a year? I'd say 24. You know, you just forget and you start doing things. But this crumbled cork lifespan, as we were talking about before, is 25 to 30 years. You know, and but I want you all to know that those who like Heights Martha's Vineyard, the eucalyptus is there and stronger than ever as the wine gets older. This wine is still, even though it's very old, like some other people I know, very old, it is really tasting great, which proves that California wines can age.
Thank you. I want to applaud that for people who ask that question. And it is singing right now. And like you said, the signature eucalyptus, that mint, is just delicious. All right, so let's start at the beginning. Tell me about growing up. So when you were growing up, was there any wine in your house? Were your parents wine drinkers?
No alcohol. Nana had some alcohol every once in a while. Nana worked at Reader's Digest.
Okay,
So
nice.
she'd come over Friday and we'd have Seagram 7s and we'd line them up, my sister and I. You know, the 4 shots. She was fine after that. You know, she had a long week at the Reader's Digest. But no, there was no alcohol growing up, and I was totally Irish steak, potatoes, beer.
Okay.
And my life changed when I went to Woodstock, the festival. I should show you a picture. I have a picture of me at Woodstock for the 50th anniversary.
Oh, nice.
I actually
So you went back. You went back?
I went back to the 25th, which was in Saugerties, New York, and I went back to the 50th with Jacqueline. I have a great picture of my hippie chick with me on the site of where the festival took place. And I actually had a wine bar. It was called Windows on Woodstock Wine Bar.
Oh, I love it.
During the whole thing. So I went there, and so you said I can say anything on this show,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay. So I went to Catholic school all my life, from kindergarten all the way to senior year in high school, and I had to wear a jacket and tie. But I went to Woodstock, and they weren't wearing any clothes. So I said, I'm going to join this tribe, and I'm moving upstate as soon as I possibly get out of Pleasantville, New York, and I did. And I found this little hamlet in the middle of nowhere between New Paltz and Woodstock, New York. And I lived above a pizzeria. And I went downstairs one day to tell Mrs. Novi that I actually didn't have enough money to pay the rent. I said, can I dishwash here? She says, no, go see my crazy son Johnny. He's opened a restaurant down the street. Okay, Mrs. Novi, thank you. That restaurant was built in 1797.
Wow.
And John Novi, to me, is we can talk about food as well, because wine is food for me. John Novi, without question, was the first farm-to-table chef in the United States of America, and that was 1969. He actually opened before Woodstock. So I got a job as a waiter.
Okay.
And but we got, all right, ready for this? I even have a picture in there, in that book. So Craig Claiborne, you're a little too young to probably remember Craig Claiborne, but he was the first restaurant critic for the New York Times.
Okay.
And he came up on a Sunday night with Pierre Fournet, which was another famous chef, and still living Jacques Pepin. They gave this restaurant a 4-star rating in the middle of nowhere. I was the oldest, 19, except for John. He was 26 or something like
that's
that.
nuts.
4 stars. First restaurant and last restaurant ever to get a 4-star rating outside of New York City. My life changed. End of statement. Ba-boom. I had to become a bartender because we used to make our own drinks. And so that's how it happened. I became the bartender. I had to order the liquor. I had to order the wine. I had to order the beer, the Budweiser that we had, the one Budweiser. There was no
Yeah,
light.
there's no IPAs, double dipped IPA, triple mango, pineapple spiked jalapeno beer, which I enjoy. But it was Bud. It was like Schlitz,
Rheingold.
Rheingold.
Does this bring back memories?
Yeah. Oh my God, Miller High Life.
We have the champagne.
The champagne of beers. Does it get any better than the champagne of beers?
Bottled beers. So if it's on draft, I guess it can't be. I don't know.
No. So that's amazing. So you're working at this tiny restaurant,
Right.
upstate. First till this day.
Yeah.
The first restaurant to get 4 stars outside New York City. And like I think as I'm here with you and I think we have these new mediums, like I mean, I guess a podcast is like my own radio station, but like there's so much luck involved with things. Like you said, like they walked in like that. Like, what was the wine list like before they walked in?
Well, that's what happened. So I'm the bartender, so therefore I'm in charge of the wines. And all these people from New York City would come up and say, you have a great restaurant. It's a 1797 stone house on the Delaware and Hudson Canal. It's beautiful. The food is spectacular. This John Novi does so well. The staff is unbelievable because we didn't know any better. Okay, whatever you want. But they said, your wine list sucks. Is that a swear word?
No.
Okay.
No.
Your wine-
I know that because I'm actually reading a book about curse words right now. So
Thank you. Okay.
You're good.
So they say, your wine list sucks. Who does the wine? And they say, Kevin does. Can we see Kevin? So Kevin had to go over to the table. And I honestly, this is not a joke. We can joke around. But I said, I don't know what you guys are looking for. We got the top 3. We got red, we got white, and we got rosé. And a guy got so pissed off at me from all the city people came up. The article came out in March of 1970. So New York wanted to get out of the city. We were bombarded. We went from 10 reservations to 200 reservations. So the guy sent me a paperback on wine. I don't remember the person, unfortunately. I'd love to know the person. Probably 65-cent paperback on wine, The Penguin Guide to Wine or something.
Okay, I was going to say, you remember the name of the book?
Penguin, yeah, I still have it.
So it's like Penguin, the publisher, made a guide to wine. Basically, it was just
Yeah.
hired a ghostwriter.
Yeah, something like
Got
that.
it. Okay.
So I also was a history major in school, and so history and wine, and then from that moment on I was obsessed. And actually, in January of this year, I had a bottle of wine with my friend Peter Beanstalk. You don't need to know him, but he's one of my closest friends. And he came to the restaurant one day, and he's 10 years older than I am, and he gave me a glass of wine, and he said, "Taste this, you'll understand." And it was a 1945 Grand Cru Burgundy, and from a private estate that he had just purchased. And I said, whoa, more, give me more. And just the smell of that wine I can remember to this day. And I went directly from Budweiser to Burgundy, just so you know.
Oh,
It was
damn.
a quick jump. I didn't stop. So he came up in January to visit me this year. So what am I going to do? So I took out a 1961, another Grand Cru, Musigny by Comte de Vauquois. And we opened the bottle. Same situation, by the way, with this bottle that we have, the Heights Martha's Vineyard. The thing crumbles. One of the best wines we have ever had. 60 years old.
Wow.
So
Wow.
that in combination with the people saying, give us more, give us more, give us more. And I'm sorry I don't have it right now. But I want you to see, I still have the wine list.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And it was on slate. And it was painted on slate. So I still have 2 of the original wine lists. And you got to see the prices of Chateau Latour. $15 a bottle.
Yeah, no, I had John Capon on, and he was telling me about his dad, Michael. You guys kind of came up at the same time. Michael was giving away DRC. People didn't want.
Yep.
He was giving away DRC in Christmas orders. Like,
Right.
You could get a case of Petrus for like $200 for a case. Something ludicrous.
Yeah, my oldest son, Anthony, goes down to my wine cellar, and he sees Latache. I guess everybody here knows you.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
know wine, right?
Yeah.
So Latache, 1989, and he comes up and he says, Dad, that bottle's worth $25,000.
Yeah.
We could sell that.
Yeah, yeah.
And I said, we're not selling.
No, we're not.
No, we are not doing anything. together." And I put wines away for my children, just so you know. I have 4, and I don't remember their names. But one was 91, 93, 97, and 99. That's how I remember, because I put all these wines away for them.
Right.
And so I have little stickers, for the private cellar of Anthony or Nick or Harrison or Adrana. And I go down a month later, on that Latache, it says, from the private cellar of Anthony Zraly. So if I die, he's getting that bottle. Step in, people. Help me.
Yeah, don't let him sell that bottle. He's going to drink it.
Right.
That's got to be like a stipulation, like at your memorial. You listen, if I don't drink that, you're drinking that at my memorial. You're pouring some on Dad's grave. Get some of that.
That's probably why I'm drinking a lot of my
Exactly.
wine cellar. Well, the COVID thing is, I find it very ironic. I'm sure you wanted to talk about this, right?
Listen, we do. We think this show's like a time capsule. This was a very interesting year, and we're just blessed to have people like you come on, and we're excited. This is like your first time being in the city in 15 months, and we made it work. So let's talk about what's going on.
Well, I think the ironic part of the COVID is, and I wrote about this. I haven't published it yet, but in 1920, Prohibition began. All alcohol is illegal. You can't drink, you can't make wine, da-da-da-da. Ready for that? 100 years later, 2020, alcohol is an essential.
No, I was going to say, I knew we were going with that.
Business.
Yeah, it was essential.
Does that sound like
Yes.
my guy?
Yeah.
Essential
Yeah,
business.
that's a good George Carlin. Yeah.
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 But then there's even more, okay? You can't spit anymore. You can't spit. It's illegal to spit. It was. Baseball players couldn't spit anymore.
Oh, okay.
They touched themselves more, but they couldn't spit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then the other one is you lose your sense of smell and taste.
I know.
So I'm moving on this one. I'm drinking it fast. 2 bottles a day. Well, I'm not that, but because it's all wine is food to me, and I can only have wine with food.
Wine is food.
Yeah.
That's been documented. I mean, the Romans have said that. It's been a great year in other ways. In that, like I was on a Zoom with Philippe Camby. He's the same way. He's like, I this food and wine go together. That's how you roll.
Right. I'm making an exception today with the Heights Marquis
Yeah, I was going to
Vineyard.
say,
I thought we were having lunch.
Now,
Where's your producer?
I know.
Where's the food?
I know. Come on, you're slipping. The problem though. We actually we had a guest bring some cheese, and it was delicious because he brought this Jura. It makes you phlegmy.
Okay,
but,
fine. I get it.
Yeah.
By the way, it's very, very important. This whole thing. By the way, I did lose my sense of smell and taste once in my life.
Okay.
That was my post-traumatic stress. Part of my post-traumatic stress
wow.
from September 11th.
Wow.
And actually, I write in the book, which is probably one of the best chapters in the book, on olfactory. Because I said, whoa, are you joking with me? I worked at Windows in the World for 25 years. We lost 72 people on that day. And then months later, I get the shingles. And the shingles and with everything else, I lost my sense of smell and taste. So I got to figure this out. So I did tremendous amount of research. It's an olfactory chapter in the book. So I can appreciate, I can empathize. Is that a better word with what's going on and the long-term effects? I lost 80% of my smell and taste, and I faked it. I'll be honest with you. Whoever took my class back in those days, you can get the pain of acid, you can get the tactile sensation of tannin, and plus I knew the wines.
Yeah.
And today it's actually better than it's ever been. And this is important to know because we're talking about saliva. Saliva is a key element, and only your dentist knows, which I just came from.
I know, ironically.
Only your dentist knows how much saliva you have. I mean, some people, it's, they're dry mouth all day long. They got to have water with them, like me. I'm not really dry mouth. But, and then there's people that, I'm sure you don't do this, wake up and you have a little drip there in the morning?
No.
Okay, no.
My cat, Howard,
okay.
Howie the wine cat, though, when I pet him, he just drools. It's disgusting. Like, he doesn't purr. He's a Maine Coon. He doesn't purr. He drools. It's so funny. Anyway. But no, you're right. I mean, there's so much we don't know about ourselves and our bodies and how they relate with food and wine that, like, it's going to be this is a great episode already. I love it.
This is the #1 episode, ladies and gentlemen.
Of
season 2, the finale.
Exactly.
Here we are,
It is.
Drinking wine, great wine in New York City. Is that a good intro for you?
That was perfect.
Okay. By the way, you should know this because maybe we'll talk about my rock and roll band, the
Oh,
Winettes.
we'll get to the, yeah.
Well, no, the thing is, I'm going to tell you one of the things I'm doing right now. You haven't asked yet. Singing lessons. I'm taking singing lessons, okay? So I've been in bands all my life, since the time I was in grammar school, actually, playing at proms and all that kind of stuff. And I would sing and belt it out, but they would turn my microphone off, including the Winettes. Kevin can really sing, So
I love that.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about...
Ask Michael Skernick if you ever get him on
we're
the
going to
show.
talk about the Winettes for sure, because we did have Harmon on, and we want to get Michael on, but I already know the title of the show. It's like 6 Degrees of Kevin Zraly, because your tentacles in the wine world create like so much of the New York wine scene, especially New York, I'm sure worldwide, but because then people move to California, touches back to you. I mean, let's just be honest. 20,000 people you've educated. You've been an amazing. I'm not proselyte. I don't know what the word is, but
Don't swear.
yeah, I'm not going to swear on this one. You've been an amazing ambassador for wine.
Well, remember now, my degree from college is history, but it's also elementary education. So you take that together with a passion for wine, you become an entertainer.
And I get it.
It's not wine.
Right.
It's not wine.
Right.
I wouldn't have had 20,000 students.
Right.
It's a class that lasted, as you said, 40 years. It was a technique. It's not focusing. I say to people, okay, turn to your neighbor and talk to them about the wine. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm off stage.
Exactly.
I'm on stage.
Yeah.
Joe Baum, who created Windows on the World, also created Four Seasons restaurant back in 1959 and 300 other restaurants. I'm privy to work with him. He then left Windows in the World and went to the Rainbow Room. So one time we owned the Rainbow Room and Windows in the World. That was an exciting experience. Then he came back. The bombing in the World Trade Center was 1993. People forget that. They remember September 11th, but the bombing in 93 closed down Windows in the World from 93 to 96. Joe Baum comes back and recreates this restaurant to a magical place that it was, forever. But Joe Baum would say, and this is about restaurants, the restaurant is theater. Mm-hmm. And that's one of my screenplays right now. And I want to get it on Broadway. Because think of anybody who's ever worked in a restaurant, like if you've seen Waitress, when Broadway was open or something like that. And so that's the wine thing. It's all, you're acting. You're a waiter. You're acting. That's what it is. It's showtime.
Yeah. Yeah.
Open the doors. It's showtime.
No, I agree. I think, and that's one of the things I think going on now with just the pure wine education. People don't understand. You could have your WSET 32, but if you can't perform on the floor, if you can't perform for people, the knowledge is not. The knowledge is easy. It's actually easy, if you have the passion. And I was thinking about something you said. I think also key was that your degree was in, one, history, and wine is history. The whole tide, it's the only beverage. It's in the Bible. It goes back to the dawn of man. But then elementary education, so you make it easier for people. Like you're not the college professor who's trying to dumbfound people. You're actually breaking it down. So I could see where that combination was just ripe. You like see what I did there, ripe? You like that?
That's my last name, by the way. It's Czech. Zraly means ripe.
Oh my God!
In Czech, you knew that, right? You had that planned?
I didn't. You know, just like so many things that have happened, like you being at that restaurant when the critic comes in.
Right.
Just there's a lot of luck. So let's talk about the first class you taught. What was the first wine class you taught?
So we get this 4-star rating. I mean, I'm talking about a hamlet of 400 people.
Right.
And so the local community college.
And they're literally called that. Like those towns in upstate and New York, they're called hamlets.
Right.
They have like a huge green. I mean, they're just beautiful. Like
I'm going to show you the picture. All right. I want you to see the picture. So the local community college, Ulster County Community College, says, well, comes to John Novi and says, you guys must know something about wine and cheese and wine and food. Why don't you teach a class for adult education?
Right.
And John knew nothing about cheese. I knew nothing about wine. But we said, sure, we do. Thinking that maybe 6 people will show up.
Right.
30 people show up for this class.
which is huge. I mean, you got to think about this. Adult ed in 1971. That's like having 15,000 followers or some shit. I mean, I can't even that's like huge.
Yeah, it was crazy. There's a picture. I'm sorry you guys can't see it, but it's a 1797.
You just have to buy the book.
Oh, you know what? That's a great idea. Did I mention my children college education? And they all, by the way, they all, like my son went to UConn, okay? And he said, because I went to State University, and he said, Dad, I went to a state school. I said, yeah, out of state.
Yeah.
All right, and if the tuition for UConn is also right up there.
Yeah.
But this was a 1797 stone house
Yeah.
on the canal. You can't see the canal here right now. And John Novi, this guy I mentioned before, he just learned cooking from his mother. And when I say farm to table, the first one farm to table, he also, when he planned his first menu, no meat, no starch.
Yeah, you think EMP is doing something fancy, right?
Right.
John Novi did it first.
He did. There's no doubt about it. And I think Alice Waters had just put out a new book, by the way. Should get her on the show. I respect her, of course, but she didn't start till 71. Yeah. So, and John, why doesn't anybody know John Novi? Because he's a hippie. Okay.
Wow.
And he didn't care about any of that stuff.
That's so true, right? I mean, we it's a little bit like people do this now, and they want to be famous, and they're trying to be, but that's why I'm so happy. Like you come on the show, and I had Mary Ewing Mulligan on the show. Like the people who shaped this whole thing in the United States, nobody knows who they are anymore. Like,
I love Mary Ewing Mulligan.
Yeah.
I love Ed McCarthy. I love, I'll even mention Wines for Dummies, my competitor, or the Wine Bible by Karen McNeil. I'll mention those because they're all good friends. But, it's funny because she probably didn't mention this, but she worked in the World Trade Center. All right? She actually worked for the Italian Trade Commission.
She did mention that. Okay. Yes. I don't remember if I made a connection with the World Trade, but she did talk about her time at the Italian.
So they were in the One World Trade Center. They would just come upstairs once a week for lunch. That's how I got to meet Mary Ewing Mulligan. And she would actually, when I started my classes, it was a 6-week class at Windows in the World. I know we're jumping, but
no, it's okay. This is a great conversation. This is what we do here.
It's conversational?
Yeah.
Oh, jeez, I got to loosen up a little bit.
Exactly. Lighten up, buddy.
But I did
Might get you to curse later. I doubt it.
By the way, we're on a third glass of Heights Martha's Vineyard.
Because we're taking it down because these older wines, you want to make sure you capture them. So.
Yeah. But anyhow, those first classes at Windows in the World were 6 weeks. So I taught the first one and the last one, and I had guests. There was a guy named Frank Prile. I'm sorry you didn't get a chance to meet him. Maybe you did. He's from Jersey, by the way. First wine critic for the New York Times.
Okay.
Peter Sichel, who's still with us at 98 years old, the creator of Blue Nun, did my German class.
Oh my God.
Mary Ewing Mulligan did my Italian class.
Wow.
That kind of thing. So I brought in these personalities to do it. So those were fun times. I got to tell you something. And we started, Windows in the World was a club at lunch. We actually had 2,500 members. So we started with a club, club members. We had 12 people in the first class. Why? One bottle goes for 12 people. And then the club members started bringing guests. So now we're up to 24. Then they bring more guests. Now we're up to 36. And we said, well, maybe we'll make this a public class and open it up to the public. And that's where the 20,000 people come from. But back to that restaurant, it's just magical. Can I use that word? Magical, there, magical at Windows on the World. Why did I stay 25 years? And I'm the only one actually that was there from the beginning to the end. So I knew, as a matter of fact, I was writing a book. I told you I got sick and I lost my sense of smell and taste. I was writing a book. This is my therapy, okay? My therapy for pandemic, write a new edition. And it was called 107 Stories.
Okay.
107
Get it. Yep. 107
flights.
floor. 107 floor.
And I wrote to everybody who ever worked at Windows in the world. I got 350 people who actually sent me something. Some of it was very long. Some of it was a paragraph, but it was fascinating, and I was going to put that into a book. And I do want to mention, not my book, but Tom Roston wrote a great book. Matter of fact, when Windows opened, the New York Magazine, before we opened, front cover, in April of 1976, the most spectacular restaurant in the world. Before we opened, can you imagine the pressure?
I know, the pressure.
Opening those doors. And a friend of mine, Tom Rosson, wrote the book, The Most Spectacular Restaurant in the World. And it's not just about Windows in the World. It's about downtown New York City. And I didn't even know this. I read the book. The World Trade Center was supposed to be on the East River.
Oh, wow.
But
I didn't know that.
ready? Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, your state. So the governor of New Jersey says, it's a little far away. You're going towards Brooklyn. Move it. They moved it to the Hudson River site.
So we don't play that in Jersey, man.
You got your wish. You got your wish. That's all I can say.
That's so cool. So you teach this class. You
Right.
didn't know a lot about it, and then
Well, I got to tell you, though, this is really important because I know you're the host, right? You're the host.
No, I'm not. We're just two guys
guys
enjoying
shooting
a
the shit.
bottle of 68
I said that word.
Cabernet.
Yeah. So we get this class going, all right? So we have 30 people in the dining room of the Canal House, and John goes on first. He doesn't know what he's going to do. So I'm going to show him how to make cheese.
Oh, come on, man.
No, he did. 6 weeks of how to make cheese. 6 hours, John. I don't know. And so then I go out to do the wine. I was the second act, so to speak. And I come out and say, here's a bottle. This is a Cabernet Sauvignon bottle. This is a Riesling-style bottle. This is a Burgundy-style bottle. And the guy in the back of the room raises his hand and he says, yeah, when are you going to open them? So I learned quickly about wine tasting. I said, that's a great idea. Let's taste wines. And so after the third glass of wine, nobody cares.
Yeah, that was kind of like the concept for the show. Is like, you got to drink wine because it'll just put everybody at ease,
Right.
and we'll just talk, and that's why I like doing it in person. So thanks for being here. So let's talk about because you got so many stories, and I'm just loving just how we're kicking it. But I want to hear about your trip to California because that's like the first and only wine country I've been to, and I believe you dropped out of college or took a year off from college and hitchhiked across the country to California.
I did. I did. I took a semester off, actually. So I started in the beginning of the summer and came back later. And let's put things into perspective. And I think this is really important, and I'm really happy to be here. Let me tell you why. You're all nice people.
Thank you.
But I'm still have the passion.
Mm-hmm.
I have the passion.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how long I'm going to be here until God knocks, stuff like that. But there are stories, and people need to know, especially the young sommeliers.
Yep.
As a matter of fact, Karen, my publicist, who has actually billed me as the first American sommelier.
Yeah, I did a little video, and you're the godfather of wine education in America for sure. Like I said, you're ground zero. Like the show title is, as you've read when you're listening to this, is 6 Degrees of Kevin Zraly because you've touched everybody who's doing this nowadays. They don't, and a lot of them don't even know it.
Well, thank you, and I really do mean thank you. But it's been what a great ride. I've been doing it. My mother doesn't understand this. I can assure you. You get paid to eat and drink, Kevin?
I know.
They fly you around the world? Are you sure? You're Irish, Okay. And I can say it now. Your shit doesn't smell any better than anybody else's. Okay, Mom. Okay, so you asked me to swear, so I should.
Well, because your mom swore. I mean,
maybe that's why I don't like the word.
Yeah, there you go.
Remember who you are, and where you came from. Okay, Mom. She still doesn't understand. I'll talk about it later, but I do classes on Zoom. But anyhow, your question. So I do all the Hudson Valley thing.
Yep.
I do Finger Lakes, and now it's time. And I had I was a college student. This is really important. I love my mother. I love my father. but I paid my way through school, every penny. There was no silver spoon here. So when I say I went to California, I hitchhiked to California. And I get from this little hamlet, and I get on Route 209, which leads to Route 80 in State College, Pennsylvania, where Penn State is. And I'm with a friend who's my official photographer, drinker, photographer, taster, photographer. And we're hitchhiking, and Route 80, zoom, 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 the truck's going by, and we're hitching out. The sun is going down. I said, Bill, we gotta go to sleep. Forget, nobody's gonna pick us up today. Maybe in the morning. Then we see this truck backing up a mile away. There's a little pickup truck backing up, and then you can see the plates, California. We got to ride all the way right to the house we were going to in Santa Cruz.
Flying.
I know,
That's
Santa Cruz,
bananas.
and we picked up more hitchhikers along the way. Anyhow, so I had this desire to get to California because I've been teaching about the wines. I've already been a teacher for a couple of years, and there were only maybe 24 wineries in Napa Valley.
Yeah.
In 1972.
Yeah.
There's over 4.
Because there's no judgment of parish yet.
No.
Right.
No.
So like these are like OGs. These are people who just really believed and loved in wine. You had Mondavi, but then other people were just like that's. I think so many people, particularly in social, don't understand like 24 wineries like in Savannah. I mean that's just bananas.
I could probably name them, but what I did, and this is a Catholic school education, I wrote to them. I told them I was coming. I told them I was coming. And I had this thing at the time. I was a manager of a 4-star restaurant.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
Like that one. I teach wine courses at the local college. I'm preparing a 2-credit wine course a la Cornell University has. I was regional director of Les Amis du Vin. Okay, I mean, I'm 21, 22 years old. But so the letter looked great. But as you can see here, my hair was down.
You had that hippie hair.
Woodstock, I had the Woodstock hair. So they did. I remember one guy at Inglenook coming out. I said to the receptionist, "I'm here," and she said, "Okay, I'll get the president of the company. He'll come down." And he looked around the room. He said, "Where is this guy? Where is this guy? Who are these people?" And no, there are stories to be told about that. First of all, a young American, and also in 1970, the earliest people didn't drink wine. They were drinking cocktails. I was a better bartender, actually. 6 years as a bartender, making old fashions and grasshoppers and whiskey sours and all of this kind of stuff. And I had a little jug down below the bar. It was Almaden, jug wine, in a half gallon, and it had dust all over it. I mean, I'm sorry that I even served it. Probably. Anyway. So I met Robert Mondavi on that trip, and he had just opened, by the way. He opened in 1966. And Michael is still a very close friend, Michael Mondavi. And Marcy lives here, still in the city. And Tim has got his own great situation, with Continuum, right on Pritchard Hill. Pritchard Hill was nothing.
Well, I know. You got Chapelets on Pritchard Hill, right. But then it was like, Harlan and all those guys. But it's like all these sites have been there. Mount Veeder has been there.
Right.
Those, it's and just we could go off on this. Like how does it like Napa cabs, like all of a sudden it's like they're all like $300 now. And these sites have been there, and people like Dunn has been there on Howell Mountain. I mean, people have been forming Diamond Creeks. I mean,
supply and demand. Very simple. Very simple. Supply and demand, and it's good in a way.
Yeah.
Although I would tell people right now, because I'm always like, what do you think about Harlan or Screaming Eagle? Right. Yeah, good. You got some? I'll have them with you. Yeah. But I'm not going to spend that kind of money. I'll go there and taste them. But there's so many good Cabernet Sauvignons. I'm going to say under $50. Right. That are out there. But I go to these wineries. So I went to Mondavi. I could reel them off. Beringer, one of the oldest ones. And then Inglenook, as I mentioned, back in those days. Charles Krug Winery. I went to Sonoma. I went to Buena Vista. I even went down to Wente, which is down in Livermore. Beaulieu Winery. And then just roamed around. We don't have time for those stories. Okay.
Well, we'll have you back on.
Yeah, we'll call it a trip to California. It wasn't just Napa.
Yeah,
it was Napa, Sonoma. I didn't go up to Mendocino. There was nothing in Mendocino.
Yeah, there's probably
there was
Navarra. Maybe one person up there. Maybe at that time.
No, they were doing grass. They were growing marijuana.
Well, they still growing.
No,
grass,
it's a big thing now.
Yeah,
thank God they were way ahead of themselves.
They were ahead of Humboldt and Mendo, man. Seriously.
Yeah. I know a few friends who went to Humboldt. They didn't come back. Just saying.
Yeah, there's stories about that. So coming back, you come back, you finish school, and then no silver spoon in your mouth. You got yourself over to Europe. What was that like?
Same deal. No money. Youth hostels. I didn't have enough money to even take the right flight. I took Icelandic Airlines, which leaves out of New York, lands in Reykjavik to refuel, and drops me off in Luxembourg. And then I realized when I got to Luxembourg, my language is not that good. My languages are good, but not. I froze. It was a moment in my life. I said, "Now what do you got? Now, look what you got yourself into, Ollie. That kind of. Look what you did this time. And here you are. Finally, it took me 6 hours to just sort of shake it off. Plus jet lag and all that other kind of stuff. And I had a Eurail pass. I'll be honest, that was the best thing. I had a Eurail pass that got me through. Again, I made, and I still have all these letters or copies of the letters that I sent, to Bordeaux. I went to Bordeaux. I went to Burgundy. I used to take the train from Bordeaux to Burgundy.
Okay.
It's 8 hours. I slept on it. I took the midnight. Got there at 8 o'clock. The youth hostels open up. Boom, boom. I'll tell you one story, though. I'm in Bordeaux, and I'm in a youth hostel in Bordeaux, which is like a dormitory kind of situation. But you have to get out of there by 9 o'clock. They close it down from 9 until 6. You got to go do something. And so I had made an appointment with the Great Chateau, and they said, okay, where should we pick you up? Well, I'm not going to say youth hostel. The Hotel du Bordeaux. Please, I'll be there. And I went to the lobby of the Hotel de Bordeaux, and the limousine came and picked me up. Because I figured if I told them that I was at the youth hostel, there goes lunch.
Yeah.
I needed that 3-hour lunch because they give you breakfast. And so now the driver says after the appointment, he says, "Want me to take you back to the Hotel de Bordeaux?" I said, "No, there's a youth hostel that I'm going to." And so now we get there, and it's around 6 o'clock, all right, or something like when they reopen. Everybody's waiting outside.
Yeah, it's like a line.
Yeah, no, but there's like hundreds of people waiting outside to get into the youth hostel, and the limousine pulls up. The driver gets out and opens the door for me and says, "Have a nice day," and I go into the youth hostel. Can you imagine what they thought?
I was like, we're not gonna like. I know you got your girl you went to, but you were like a rock star. You could have been a rock. You could have ruled. You probably ruled the hostel that night. They're like, who is this guy?
Yeah,
he's American.
Yeah,
He got out of the limo.
Right. I had one suit I brought with me, and I carried it this way. I had no other way to carry it. So hitchhiking and carrying my suit. But it was a great experience. I went to Germany. I went to Spain. As a matter of fact, being in Rioja, Francisco Franco was still in charge. Okay, just so you know. He actually died the year that I was there, which was 1975. The difference between northern Spain and southern Spain, northern As I do one other story, okay?
Yeah.
By the way, I'm putting storyteller on my new business card because I'm being with you.
Kevin Zraly,
Storyteller. So I just had this wine the other day, and I think I posted it if you watch my stuff, look at my stuff.
I do.
But Ruffino, one of the great producers, everybody thought it was commercial, but the Gran Selezione now. What a wine that is. It's powerhouse. The Chianti Classico Reserva Gran Selezione. So anyhow, I'm in Italy, and I don't know how to use the Italian phones. There were we didn't have cell phones. So I hitchhiked out to Ruffino to confirm my meeting with them the next day because I needed that lunch. Okay? And I get there, and the receptionist says, Mr. What's his name? He's here. He's actually entertaining some people downstairs. Let me go get him. So he comes upstairs. Oh, Mr. Zraly, I know you're coming tomorrow. Why don't you come down and have lunch today? I'm with some restaurateurs from Rome. Okay, sure. I'll stay for lunch. I walk down these stairs to this gigantic room. There's 400 restaurateurs down there from Rome, and he says something on the stairs in Italian. I have no idea to this day what he said, but I got a standing ovation. I mean, that, Jacqueline calls me Kevin Gump, okay? I mean, you had to be there for this kind of stuff. And I'm dying. Okay, I'll have lunch. I'll be back tomorrow, too. And so Italy was great. Spain was interesting. Nothing was going on, by the way. Rioja had never seen a long-haired hippie.
Yeah.
And this is northern Spain, not southern Spain, not the party area.
Right.
It's
Basque country.
Yeah.
They're not even Spanish. They don't consider themselves Basque. They're Basque.
Yeah, they might not. They might end up to be Basque.
Yeah,
totally.
Yeah. So you know what? There's so many good stories. We're gonna take a quick break, and we'll be back, and then we'll talk about windows on the world, and we'll see where the conversation goes. All right, we'll be right back. Okay, we're back. So you come back from your journey, and then when did you leave the restaurant, the Stone Restaurant? When did you leave there? What had you leave?
All right, so I get back to this little hamlet again of 400 people, and my friends don't understand me anymore. Okay, why are you speaking French? Even the guy that was the salesman, Red O'Rourke, nice Irish guy, and I'd been ordering wines from him and liquor from him, and he said to me one day, I said, Red, I need some Nuit Saint-Georges. Stop speaking, don't speak French to me. Give me the IBM number. You want the wine? Okay, so I said, okay, I get it. So I gave him the IBM number. I said, well, this guy's making $50,000 a year as a salesman, and I'm making $5,000 as a bartender. Something's wrong here. Mm-hmm. So I figured, well, maybe it's just him. So I called his manager. I said, what kind of Nuit Saint-Georges do you have? He said, I have no idea what you're talking about. Give me an IBM number. And so I'm going to go to the owner of the company. Just call up and say, hi, I'm from the Canal House. What kind of Nuit Saint-Georges you have? You want Thunderbird, did you say? What do you want? And I said to myself, okay, that does it. I'm going in the business. If they don't even know, it was a liquor mentality, total liquor mentality.
Oh, right.
They still call them liquor stores, where, right now it's 90% wine. I don't know why they still continue.
Or it's a liquor or a package store. Yeah.
So, I can't, and my friends, I love my friends still to this day, but they didn't get it. Mm-hmm. I said, I got to go to the city. This is the only place. And New York City, I'm not saying this, people, because I'm from New York. It is the wine capital of the world. There's no doubt about it. It's not L.A., it's not San Francisco, it's not Paris, it's not Rome, it's New York City, as it is with the theater, which I can't wait for that to open. Mm-hmm. But so I got a job as a salesman working for a company, and if the people from around this area would know Empire, at those days it was called Charmer, and they had one division that they had just created called Wines of All Nations. I always think about that. I went to Wines of All Nations, and then I went to Windows on the World. Something, I don't know. God is with me. That's all I can say.
You're a good altar boy, man.
Yeah, I was a good altar boy.
Yeah.
We can talk about that. I'm not joking when I say my first taste of wine. I went to Father Matarazzo, and I said, there's some wine left over. He said, well, that's sacred. You got to pour it carefully down the sink. Carefully in my mouth.
I'll pour it carefully down my throat.
Right, and it was terrible because it was fortified and sweet. That was my first taste. I should have dropped out then. But I kept the job at the Canal House, and I'm doing all these things going around trying to be a salesman. I'm saying these people are going to love me. They're going to want to learn everything that I've learned about going around the world and wine. They could care less. They knew I made a 6% commission. Mm. They said, well, if you give us 2% of your commission, then we'll buy wines from you. And I said, I'm not doing that. Mm. No, I'll give you education. We don't want an education.
Yeah, we want money.
It sounds like Pink Floyd.
I know. We don't need your wine education. We want 2% of your commission.
Yeah, we could. I'll get the guitar.
I know, and we're going to talk about this band you were in.
Yeah, well, I've been in many bands,
but the band,
the Winettes,
the Winettes, man, the famed Winettes.
So anyhow, I went back. Then I'm going to all these different places in New York. I had Westchester, Rockland, and Manhattan. 450 accounts that my friend Herb Chute, my sales manager, gave me, and I would go visit them. And then I'm looking at the address, 38th Street, Wait a second. The store is now a laundromat. Or I would go to another, the building was gone.
Right.
There was no building there. And I finally went back to Herb and I said, Herb, where'd you get these 450 accounts? He said, it's easy. We got 45 salesmen. They each gave you 10 of their accounts. Which accounts, Anybody that's been in sales,
I'll curse for you.
Okay, thanks.
Fuckers. Those fuckers offloaded.
So things are going downhill quick. Thank God I kept the job at the Canal House. But then one day, this guy who was an importer gives me a name. He says they're opening up a restaurant at the World Trade Center, and go see this woman called Barbara Kafka. You probably don't know who Barbara Kafka is, but if you check it out, she was James Beard's editor. Okay, and she also is the microwave queen. She's the one who got microwaves into kitchens. And
wow.
She wrote all the original microwave cookbooks, and that's why they're in restaurants, high-end restaurants. Mm-hmm. Anyhow, I go down to see Barbara Kafka. They're on the 17th 18th floor of One World Trade Center. They hadn't opened the restaurant yet. And I walk in, and I see the receptionist, and I say, I'm here to see Barbara Kafka. She says, well, who are you? I'm Kevin Zraly. What do you want? I'd like to sell her wine. She walks back to Barbara Kafka's office, and she comes back and says, Barbara can't see you today. I said, fine, I'll come back tomorrow. And I went back the next day. Can't see you today. This went on for 3 weeks. 3 weeks. And I understand they were opening up this gigantic restaurant, but I was here to help them. That was my big mistake. So Barbara Kafka finally comes out. I go by there with the receptionist, and I were friends by then.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I went on a date with her, brought her tea, all this kind of stuff. I think she said, why don't you go see him? Yeah. She walks out. I'm going to swear now. Okay, only repeating what she said. She walks out and says, "Who the fuck are you?" Okay, why are you here? I'm here to help you with your wine list. Get in my fucking office now. Okay, I felt like the principal. I'm okay. I just turned 25, and I'm like New York City. I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't have done that. And so I walk, and I had her in a half hour. Had her. What do you know about wine? You ever been to California? Yeah. Bordeaux. Yeah. Tuscany. The Rhine Valley, and I had done the 10,000 hours.
Yeah.
I walked into a situation where they were looking for a young American.
Yeah.
That's what Joe Baum put on his paper. Get a young American. I don't want any of the... Matter of fact, we're not calling them sommeliers. They're going to be called only one, cellar master. Mm-hmm. And that was my title. And within days, they offered me the job. They had interviewed 30 people for this job, top sommeliers, from around French, German, Swiss. There really wasn't too many Americans. Do you want to talk about luck? Okay. I walk in to this restaurant, and here I am, Kevin Zraly, nobody from High Falls, New York, working for a wine company called Wines of All Nations. My largest selling wine was Richard's Wild Irish Rose.
Oh, damn! It wasn't even.
Is this being recorded?
It wasn't even Matus Rosé.
No, it was.
Damn.
And I had a lot of COD accounts, too. I don't even get into that. And so the next day, I'm sitting with this guy Joe Baum, who I mentioned created the restaurant, with James Beard, who was a consultant, with Jacques Pepin, who was a consultant, and all of these people helping them design the menus for the new windows on the world. Okay, I'll take this. And I'm on top of the world. I've been doing these sunset things for the last, we'll talk about that, but the pandemic, sunsets, every day. Every single day since the pandemic, I've been taking sunsets. But can you imagine the sunsets at windows on the world? 107 stories.
Jesus.
New Jersey even looked good.
Yeah, I know. It's true. It's true.
They all know you're from New Jersey.
They all know I'm from Jersey. Okay. I'm very proud of pork roll and The Sopranos and all that shit. Here you go. Like, oh my God, like Jacques Pepin, like the first celebrity chef, guys. Like this is OG shit. This is the real shit right here. So you're 25 years old, and this was such an incredible thing that happened. Like in our research, there was something about you were in a Playboy ad about being 25 years old getting this job, right? What's that? What was that about?
We had a good. Well, Joe Baum was the master of everything. Remember, I said restaurant is theater.
Yeah.
So the lighting was really important. He never called them uniforms; they're costumes. I mean, I'm talking. This is why this is going to be a hit show on Broadway. I'm banking on this, because anybody who's worked in the restaurant knows what I'm talking about. Of the pressure that you're going through, and can you imagine the music? Going what kind of music it's going to be? So it was artwork. Gold, on the mirrors and all this. The men's room was one of the best men's rooms you've ever seen in your entire life, and you could get a massage. Okay, they had a masseuse, full-time masseuse, who worked not in the men's room, but in the back. You had to go through the men's room to get there. I mean, you got to see pictures of this. The ladies' room was good too, but the men's room was unbelievable. And views from there's a view, there's a carpet, there's a chair I bought for $3,000, and there's Kevin. Do something with him. He's this young kid or whatever. And so I was interviewed by the PR people, and I got along with this guy, Dick Rayboy, who was the guy, and he said, I got it. So he does this whole thing, and it's everything we've just talked about, actually. it calls the headline, very long headline, but remember it's full page New York Times and 3 pictures as well. And it says, "How do you get to be cellar master at Windows in the World at age 25? You start by by knowing how to pronounce Nuit Saint Georges." Do you know where that came from?
Well,
That guy.
Yeah.
That guy who said,
Give me his bin number.
Give me a bin number. And then it was age 18, lost child at Woodstock. Age 19, Canal House, etc. Age 20. It went all the way from 19 to, it was my history from 19 to 25. And I figured, well, my ego's definitely satisfied for the rest of my life. It wasn't just the New York Times, it was everywhere.
Yeah.
The Wall Street Journal, Newsweek, and all those things. It was just like, my mother was very happy. That's when she realized, you've done good, Kevin. That's good. Even though you drink too much, but you've done good.
Yeah, yeah. So, like, this concept was, and you said it, and I think it's true. I think people, as one of the gifts is starting in the wine business in New York City is, and working at a store like Acker, it's that same world you were in. Like, you get to taste these wines, and everything comes through here. But what was the Americans' conception of wine like when that restaurant opened up? Like, you're a kid in a candy store, but like, people are. So 76, like, had the Judgment of Paris. When was the Judgment of Paris?
It was actually in 1976, and it was exactly May of 1970. Steven Spurrier, unfortunately, is no longer with us, but he was a very close friend. And of course, he started L'Académie du Vin in Paris. That's a story in itself. I was supposed to be with him in May of last year. We were going to get together to celebrate his new book that he just put out. But obviously, he passed away. But the Judgment of Paris happened the same month that Windows in the World opened up, and it didn't have a tremendous amount of press, by the way. That press came later on, years later, really. But when I got to Windows, I said, "Mr. Baum, thank you for the job. What do you want me to do?" And he said, "Kevin, my son." Now I'm a son, "Kevin, my son, I want you to create the biggest and the best wine list that New York has ever seen, and don't worry about how much it costs, because of the good state of New Jersey." Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. They had no idea. So I had befriended a gentleman named Alexis Lachine. And by the way, anybody who's into wine, you better go find a version of Alexis Lachine, Wines of France, or his Encyclopedia of Wine. You need to know Frank Schoonmaker, Encyclopedia of Wine. I'm talking about all the where I learned.
Yeah,
there was no paperback.
I think that's important. I mean, I think, like, I saw something today. Someone was like, "Oh, Sasha Lachine, who's Alexi's son."
Right.
So if you drink Whispering Angel,
Right.
Okay, you just Google Alexi Lachine and you'll get why that's such a damn tasty rosé. So
it is, and I've known Sasha since he was a little kid.
Yeah.
Alexis Lachine, you want to talk about bon vivant? Okay, he had a Russian passport, a French passport, and an American passport. Okay, I think he was married 5 times. One was to Arlene Dahl. You're still too young to understand who Arlene Dahl is. He actually, though, was the guy who went into the stores and sold wine. He was his shoes on the street. But he also owned Chateau Prairie Lachine and Chateau Lescombe. And he was the first guy, really, salesman and also, wine entrepreneur, French wines. Mm-hmm. French wines. Mm-hmm. So I said, and Joe Baum said to me, "Call Alexis. Go to Bordeaux, buy some wine." Okay, I can do that. And it wasn't like my first trip to Luxembourg. It was like first class, land in Paris, go see Alexis at his chateau.
No hostel getting picked up.
I'm a hot commodity now. And I had all the money in the world. And by the way, back in those days, that's the story that Tom Ralston did. New York City was in dire straits. That's why people hated the World Trade Center, because they took out all of downtown Manhattan, and then they built these trade centers during a fiscal crisis, a terrible fiscal crisis. But it was also going on in France. So they needed cash. So I'd walk in with Alexis. He knew everybody. "Hey, how are you doing? Good. Ça va? Oui. Okay. I'll take 5 cases of that. Chateau Margaux, 1900. Okay. And then we'd go to Lafite. I'll take the 5 cases of the 21 Lafite. And let's go to Aubryon. 34 is good vintage. We'll do that. You have any 61s around? Yeah, we'll do the 61s. I'm no genius. I had the money. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to give myself credit that I was already in Bordeaux.
Yeah.
I knew how Bordeaux wine. I knew Alexis. I met him on my first trip, and so there I am, thanking him for taking care of me on my first trip. And so that's how I built the wine listing. But your question was, what was it like back in 1976? French wine.
Okay.
Total French wine. And but what Joe said to me, excuse me, Mr. Baum at the time, said, this is windows on the world. I want all countries represented. I wish I had the wine list in front of me. Because we went from Argentina to Yugoslavia. Mm-hmm. I found a Cabernet Sauvignon from Yugoslavia that we sold for $3 a bottle. That's in 1976, and Joe would always say, "Oh, it was $3.25, $3.25, and you can get 3 of those and get change back from your 10." That was his big thing. Of course, nobody ever bought the Yugoslavian Cabernet, but we had an unbelievable list. Burgundy, and Alexis will also help me out. So we had this list. And I want everybody to know, I put together 800 wines eventually. Mm-hmm. And I think, on September in 2001, we probably had 2,000 different wines. But I had a small list. All right, I had a small list, and it was 100 wines. Everything was under $100. And most of it was like the $15 to $25 range in a restaurant. And that was the reason. The one thing we haven't talked about is Windows in the World was the largest dollar volume restaurant in the world on September 11th. Mm-hmm. People don't know this. It was also the number 1 seller of wines in the world in September 11th.
So I just want to make sure I heard you correctly. 100 wines and under $100.
Correct.
And 15 to 25 in a restaurant?
Yes. But they weren't all 15 to 20. I had 100.
No, I know.
Dom Perignon was $100.
Yeah, but I mean, that's like, a $10 bottle's $35 nowadays.
Right. I know.
That's what I'm saying. I was like, I think I heard that.
Right.
I just want. That's freaking amazing.
Well, there's no rhyme and reason, and I'll tell this to anybody right now. There is no science to a wine list. It depends upon the person who's putting it together.
Yeah.
And I'm calling out to the sommeliers here right now, and I understand what they're doing, and I understand that. By the way, I'm not a master of wine. I'm not a master sommelier. You know why? It didn't exist.
I know.
Would I have done it? Sure, I would have done it. And I give people credit for what they've done and the amount of money that they spend and the energy that they, worked with all these people to get to that level, even level 2, 1, 2, or 3, or whatever it is. Yeah. But it's, and I feel bad right now because I just talked to my friend Daniel Jonas, at, Danielle's restaurants. He runs you should have him on the show, by the way. Maybe you already have.
No, but we scored you, so I think we got a big chip. We're like, well, we have Kevin Zraly. I mean, sorry if you're too busy.
Yeah. So the great restaurant in New York City in the 60s was called Le Pavillon.
Okay.
And Danielle just opened Le Pavillon again. It hasn't been around.
Oh, wow.
I suggest to everybody that they study the history of restaurants. Going back, I'm talking about going back to Roman times.
Yeah.
The history of restaurants, and of course, a lot of people forget this. The word restaurant means to restore.
Yeah.
So you had a long day. Hey, you want to have good wine and good food, so the reason we sell wine so cheaply, if you want to do it that way, and actually I went in with the regular wine estimate. He said, cut the prices, cut more, Joe Baum, cut more. And so I'd rather sell 2 bottles of wine than 1 bottle of wine.
Right.
And that was his philosophy, and that's why we sold so much wine. So we had a great wine list. And by the way, if you wanted to spend more than $100, I would go out with the extended wine list. That's what it was called. If you want information on the extended wine list, Kevin will come out to your table, which is great because I could go to tables that really wanted to talk wine. Most people don't.
Yeah, it's true. Most people to this day, they just don't want to talk wine. That's just amazing. All you've seen. So,
the best parts though, I met everybody in the world because even I was not. This is. So the general manager of the restaurant, Alan Lewis, who's in this picture that I'm showing you here right now, Alan Lewis didn't want to go to anybody's table, any celebrity table. He sent me because I would break the ice with the wine list. I would bring the wine list over, to John Lennon or to Richard Burton or to Cher or to Mick Jagger.
You've seen her. I'm sure.
Dolly Parton. She was good. So I got to meet all these people, and just nice people. We had also private parties. I remember when The Wiz was on Broadway, we had the party for The Wiz. Michael Jackson was in it.
Diana Ross,
right?
Jackson.
And it was later. They did the revival.
Right.
And they got you want to talk about craziness? They had the party at Windows in the World, but they had to get them from 42nd Street down. They put together a subway, their own subway, leaving 42nd Street, getting off, downtown into the World Trade Center, decorated the whole thing, music, food, and then the yellow brick road from the R train right to the entrance of Windows on the World to the elevator. And I was downstairs, and Michael Jackson is there, and I could see, people were starting to come, and he was with a woman, and he wanted to get out of there as quick as possible. Let's go, jump in the elevator. So we jumped in the elevator together. I mean, I could tell you thousands of stories, about that, meeting fun people. Art Garfunkel, you might be too old for that.
No,
too young for that, right?
Simon and Garfunkel.
So, I mean, I'm a musician, so
Yeah.
Art and I became close friends.
Oh my God.
It's fantastic.
I love that
thing. Anyhow, but people in the restaurant business have a lot of stories.
Yeah, no, I mean, we've had some guests who, and particularly at the level you work at, I mean, you're bringing a level of enjoyment to people, and I think a lot of people, we hear the horror stories, but even a lot of people I waited on when I worked in New York and then in California and Santa Barbara, nicest freaking people, just
family.
Really, yeah, yep.
And that's the saddest part of September 11th, is family. I'm not getting involved in any articles. I'm writing my own.
Yeah.
Because and some people call it an anniversary. I said, what? It's not an anniversary. It's 20 years since the destruction of the World Trade Center.
Yeah.
And the hardest thing is, I have 72 people. I didn't know all of them, to be honest with you. I probably knew half of them. I worked with half of them. We lost 2 people in the wine cellar, and the other 2 people that worked in the wine cellar got married. So you can look at, all of that kind of stuff. But this family aspect, missing the people that I worked with closely, and the restaurant is family. That's for sure. It's fun. And you can have arguments with your family members and discussions with your family members, but we get the job done.
Let's and since you're talking about your family, let's talk about some of your children that have come through there.
I don't remember their names. I'm telling you. Now.
No,
You're
I
gonna
mean,
have to remind me.
like Michael Skurnick.
Oh, those children.
I mean,
Yeah, those children.
Andrea Robinson.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk. I think, which actually you brought your own glasses. You're professional, but I have some of Andrea's glasses. It's my go-to glass in my bag. The one wine glass,
I was just talking to Andrea. I was going to get my phone to prove it to you, but I guess I don't have to prove. I was talking to Andrea this morning.
Yeah.
By text.
Yeah.
She's calling me tomorrow. Let's start with Michael Skurnick because, so I'm in the wine cellar, and Michael Skurnick is, people who don't know it, I think he's the best importer of wines in the United States of America. He was a waiter I think he went to Amherst, and then he got the job at Windows, and he was fun. By the way, Joe Baum says to me, I said, how many other people can help me on the floor? He said, none, you're it. I said, okay, I don't know how I'm going to do that. And people should realize that it's 2 floors. In the beginning, it was just 1 floor, the 107th floor, which was an acre in size. Then we moved down to the 106th floor, which is also an acre in size. How am I going to cover all this? So what did I do? Question. I started training the waiters and the busboys.
I read that somewhere. Talk about that. You said you don't have a wine program unless you train everybody in the restaurant.
Dishwashers, people in the banquet department, people who kept the place clean. Why shouldn't they know about wine? It might not have been a lot of classes. I gave more classes to the captains because the other one's directly dealing with the customer, but it was a wine restaurant. You want to be a wine restaurant? Everybody knows about wine, not just you. And Michael Skurnick took those classes and became fascinated, and he came to me one day, and he said, look, I want to work in the wine cellar with you. And I said, Michael, you're making $25,000 a year, and I can give you $12,500, and you just had a baby. Go home and talk to your wife, Judy. I'm sure she'll talk you out of it. So the next day he comes in with a big smile. Judy says it's cool. She likes the whole idea.
I'm sure he was lying.
He never talked to
and
Judy.
No wife telling you to take a 50% pay cut, especially if you just had a baby.
Right. But he worked 2 years in the wine cellar, and it wasn't easy. It's stocking things. We had 3 different places down in the basement levels where we had the wine, so we couldn't keep them all upstairs. So you had to replace. And we actually didn't have enough room for the amount of wines that we had. So Michael did a great job. And so then he went on to work as a distributor. Then he represented Mamason Burgundies. And then, as a matter of fact, I was with him. Ready for this? The Winettes, which I know you're getting to.
Yeah, man.
Michael Skurnick was a fantastic lead guitar player, by the way. And, playing what is it? CCR. Is it Clarence Clearwater?
It's Credence. Yeah,
Credence.
Credence
Sorry, I could
Clearwater.
never
It's
get it.
okay.
You can't say it three times.
Yeah, I
bet.
know.
You
I
can't.
can't.
No, yeah.
Especially after the 2 glasses of this 68
Yeah.
dates.
Yeah, guys. Sorry.
Martha's.
We're sending a bottle to everyone who's listening. So please send in your report, and we'll send you a bottle of the Heights Martha's Vineyard 68. No problem.
The Black Wine Guy makes no representation of the trueness of that statement.
So Winettes, which is a band, I might as well go to it.
Yeah,
now.
let's talk about the Winettes, man.
All right,
I mean, let's
you know, the fun part of it is you. Oops, sorry, I hit my microphone by mistake. Don't get in my way again. So Josh Wesson, who wrote the book Red Wine with Fish, White Wines with Meat, with a guy named David Rosengarten, was a friend of mine. We'd go to all the tastings together. And one day I learned that he played guitar, so I went to his place. We started playing guitar. I was in rock and roll bands, just so you know, ladies and gentlemen, 1-4-5 progressions. That's it. That's all I knew. And we started playing. And she said, why don't we do something with this? And so, you know, Michael plays guitar. And then Joey DeLisio from the River Cafe, you know, he just retired, by the way, 40 years at the River Cafe. And drummer, he's got his master's in music.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
And then another guy named Richard Regner. As a matter of fact, Brian Miller, who was then the restaurant critic for the New York Times, joined us. So this is where we played, right around the block where you are here in Manhattan, to a smelly, terrible place. You know, beer. You know what I'm talking about? A beer microphone. Your microphone smells very.
Oh
good,
no, man!
Yeah, okay.
I was a roadie when I was young for this guy, and like one day I was like 18. I sniffed about. Oh, don't ever smell a microphone. That's all I'd say about that. Woo! You think your breath smells bad under your mask?
Yeah. This is really true.
Yeah,
Any musician knows this.
Yeah, it's like what they say, 400 years of funk and Thriller, like 400 years of funk is in a microphone for sure.
And then you walk into the studio, and it's so smelly of sweat from the last band, you know. And Igor, give me the money now. I'm not kidding. Okay, all right, here's the money. All right, we're going in. So, by the way, then we would go after that and review restaurants for the New York Times. I'm not joking. We go to Molly Wee's, is it, on 7th or 8th Avenue? 8th Avenue going up. And Molly Wee's is still there. We'd have our beers and then go review restaurants. Go back and look at those reviews. Anyhow, we get together. Richard Regner, who was a bass guitar player, he worked in the wine cellar at Windows on the World. And so we got together. So we formed the band, the Winettes, and we were actually decent. All right, you could dance to our music, and people enjoyed it. And we went out. I'm bringing this up because of Michael Skurnick. We went out and played the Monterey Wine Festival.
What?
Monterey Wine Festival.
Wow.
And so they flew us out there. By the way, the end of the story is we quit when people started paying us not to play. Okay, I just want you to know. That's when we knew it was over. But we went out there, and Michael says, you know, he's distributing Mama San. He's a national distributor for Mama San. And he says, you know, I'm going to go see this guy, Randall Graham.
Oh, yeah, Bonnie Doon.
Because we're down in that area now.
Yep.
And we go see Randall Graham, and Randall says, you know, I got nobody in New York taking care of me. And that was first Michael Skurnick wine.
Wow.
So it goes back to 1988, 89 or something like that when he started his business.
The original Rhone Ranger, he's often called, Randall Graham. Those were really good wines. I mean, he's sold that brand, but
he's still there.
Yeah, but he's got his own. He's got an estate where he's doing all this really, really cool stuff.
But Le Cigar Volant. Do you know the wine?
Oh yeah.
So I don't know if everybody knows this, but on the back you read Le Cigar Volant, means flying saucer.
Yeah.
And it was a decree in the Rhone Valley that you could not land your flying saucer there.
Yeah.
And so he made sure that they couldn't land it on his. It was on the bottle.
Yep.
Just letting you know. You
I
couldn't
know.
land if you can't go.
I have a 2012 in my cellar, which I'm gonna pop pretty soon, man. Yeah, no, the Cigar Volant. That's it. I love that. So, you've. You know, and just like quickly, but like if you talk, and then you got Michael Skurnick. So this is like how so you got Michael Skurnick, and then David Bowler worked for Michael Skurnick, and then Doug Polano worked for Michael Skurnick. You know, and like I mean, like you've spawned all these things. So why did you decide what you've been teaching classes for years? What made you actually sit down and speak the book out? What made you write the book? Because I have a similar writing process. I dictate and then I edit. So what made you do that? What made you write the book?
We're on the same page. Get it? Sorry. Where's that drum? You told me there was. Where is it here? But I did want to say one thing because I didn't want to forget Andrea Robinson.
Yes.
And Andrea came to me. She was 21 years old. By the way, she worked for Mary Ewing Mulligan at the wine center, the International Wine Center. I sort of poached her a little bit. I think she was a little angry. Not angry. We never get angry. We have a bottle of wine. We're fun. We're good. We're good, right? So she was 21 years old. She worked for the wine school. Was booming in those days. I mean, I was doing, 800 people a year or something like that, some crazy number. And so she did all the what's the word, logistics, getting everybody, checking them in or whatever.
Because she was went to biz school or something, right? Or was
She went, hold on a second, was it University of Texas? She's from down south, but it was the University of something like that.
Okay.
Sorry, Andrea, I don't remember. Can't remember everything, I'm 70 now. Is this wine made with Cabernet, by the way, you think?
I think it is.
Here's something. Sorry, I'm tangenting here. When I started, that bottle of wine only had to be 51% Cabernet. That was the law. 51% Cabernet. So
that was that low? Because I know, even now, that's you could have 60% Napa Valley and call your wine Napa Valley. So I know there's people don't understand that, and you have to know what's going on.
Well, now it has to be 75% of
Okay.
it. But of course, a great winery is going to, Heights is not
Yeah,
going
it's
to do
going to do that.
So anyhow, Andrea came to me and she ran the wine classes. And one day she said to me, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to do this anymore. I said, Andrea, what do you want? I want to be a writer. She was 22 years old. I said, fine, I'm redoing my book. And the only other person in my book is Andrea on wine and food. I said, okay, help me write the wine and food chapter. So she's in here. And then she wanted to do more. Okay, you can work on the floor. And actually, I'm going to say something about Andrea because this is not wine. This is related to the bombing at the World Trade Center in '93. I was not there.
Yeah.
It was lunch time. And she was actually the only manager on duty. And the bombing took place. Smoke is coming upstairs. And she led. She took charge. Petite, Andrea took charge and got everybody down. Now, you're walking downstairs at the World Trade Center from 107 stories. Smoke-filled, no lights, no intercom system. You don't even know if you're walking down into the fire or whatever it was. And she got everybody out. So I just want everybody to know that she's obviously a great wine person, a great friend, great writer. But and then we closed Windows in the World from '93 to '96. And by the way, why? The only elevator system was Windows in the World. That only one that went straight up.
Oh, okay.
Even the observation deck didn't do that. So we were the chimney for all of that. By the way, 6 people died. One of them was an employee, and it was right where the commissary was, where Jacques Pepin was in charge of originally, where all the food came in. It was at the dock. So I always recognize that. And then Andrea left after '93, and she had a baby, and da-da-da-da-da. We reopened in '96, and the people, Joe Baum's people, which were the Emile family, said to me, we need somebody to be, the cellar master. I said, oh, I got the right person. So I bring Andrea in to meet them. And again, she's, sweet, petite, all of this kind of stuff, but so knowledgeable. And she sits down with them and she says, well, Andrea, what would you like to do? I want the wine. I want the liquor. I want the beer. I want the tea. I want the coffee. I want anything that's a beverage. I want the sake. Okay. And so then she became in the second time around, she then took over the whole program.
Wow.
Interesting woman. She lives out in Napa with her husband, John, and 2 kids that are both teenagers right now. Good luck, Andrea.
Yeah, I was her sales rep when she worked at Bacar. I worked for Chambers & Chambers. I was sales rep, so that's when I got to meet her.
Okay.
So, yeah, she's amazing.
Yeah.
And really nice. She's supersonic.
That's a good word for her. Supersonic. I can just see it flying through everything. So, so you're talking about the book.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I'm reading Alexis Lachine. I'm reading Frank Schoonmaker. I'm reading all of these books, but they're encyclopedic in nature.
Yeah.
And so my students said to me, "Forget it." And these are very well-educated people. Forget it. We want to learn enough about wine that we could go order in a store or order in a restaurant. So I started handing out things. Forget books. We couldn't use it. Well, I used a book by Alexis Besploff. That's another writer people forget about, but he was the New York Magazine wine writer and put out the Signet Book of Wine, which sold 700,000 copies. And it was just a paperback. And it's too much. We want too much. We don't want that. Okay, fine. So then I started handouts. The handouts became volumes.
Yep.
And I hired this woman, Felicia Sherbet, who her husband Frost worked for me in the wine cellar. She sat in the back of the classes. for a whole year. So that's 5 different classes. And then she taped everything. She transcribed it. Book. End of statement. And how do I find a publisher? How do you find a publisher for anything? Well, coincidentally, the owners of Sterling Publishing took the class, and so the owners, okay, Burton Hobson and Lincoln Bohm, and they come up to me after the classes are over, hand me their cards, and say, "We'd like you to teach. We'd like you to write a book the way you teach the wine class."
He's like,
"Okay, done."
ding, 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 ding.
Yeah. So that's how the book got published, and and that's why it's now something like, I don't know, 400 pages or whatever it is. But in fact, I get a lot of people say to me, "Your book doesn't say this. Your book doesn't say that." I say, "Yeah, that's right. It doesn't. It's not an encyclopedia. But I recommend other books. Go to Jansen's Robinson.
Yeah.
Go to Hugh Johnson."
Yeah.
I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
So
I love that.
I don't mind the criticism.
I love that. So you're also working on, wait, you have an autobiography, Glass Half Full?
Yeah, I wrote that already.
Okay.
It's done.
Okay.
It's called The Glass Half Full, Cellar Master's Journey Through Wine and Life. I don't know how far I should go. I haven't had enough wine yet. You have another bottle or something?
I actually have a bottle.
No, it's all right. I know we're going to run out of time.
I got a bottle. We
you
can
know-
bribe Miles.
I think that he's drunk.
Yeah,
back there.
Miles like, yeah, well, you got time. I'm not kicking you out.
I think I don't talk about this often, but I'm having a good time. We're having a good, shooting the shit.
Yeah.
Even though I don't like that word. My life. The reason I believe I have so much resilience is because I had a great family. I had a great mother. I had a great father. Sisters. I grew up in an idyllic Pleasantville. Get it? Well educated. And so I bring that up because I'm going to tell you something, which I very rarely talk about. So September 11th happens. Obviously, that's I can't even. I'm still devastated. Totally devastated.
Yeah.
I can't. I don't talk about it much. But I was going to write that book, and then a year and a couple of months later, that my daughter, who just graduated USC, I'm prefacing this from the business school, from the Marshall Business School, was diagnosed with leukemia. So she had just turned 4. So now I'm spending all this time at Sloan Kettering, okay? 4 years of that. But before that's finished, our house burns down. Finished, done, gone. And so all the kids' stuff, this is the hard part for me, is the children. If I'm going to talk about anything about September 11th, it's going to be what happened to the children who lost a family member. What happened to the people like me that didn't die? I wasn't there, but my children, what kind of trauma do they have still to this day? Especially with those 3 events all within 3 years. So that's why The Glass Half Full, and I wrote it, and I just sits there, and maybe someday I'll publish it. But you got to get through things, and that's all I can say.
Yeah.
Resilience, is I'm lucky to have a very supporting family.
Yeah. Yeah. The show, one of the things we want to know from people, and thank you for sharing that so much, by the way, is life is hard, You had a trifecta. That's just crazy that happened. Boom, boom,
Well,
boom.
there's more, but I'm not doing it today. That's for the next show.
Yeah. But, why, I'll ask you a question. Why was it so important for you to continue the wine classes after September 11th?
Therapy. Total therapy. As a matter of fact, it was my family again. It was my family. Michael LaMonaco, by the way, was the chef at Windows in the World. I tried to hire him from the 21 Club before the bombing, and we got him when the second year after we reopened in 1997. He brought that place back. He's a very close friend of mine. His picture is in here. Still, to this day, owns Porterhouse Restaurants in New York, and now is moving one over to Hudson Yards. It's called Hudson Yards. Is that right? Anyhow, he actually took the wine class in the summer of 2001. Anyhow, he said, you got to go, you got to continue the class. But my therapist gave me the best advice. He said, if you don't continue teaching, this is his words, you're going to die too. You got to follow your passion. You got to get right back on the wagon or the horse or whatever it is, and I'm in front of people. I'm on stage. And I'm not talking about small classes. I'm sorry you never got a chance to see my classes. The last class that I ever taught was 200 people at the Marriott Marquis. In general, my classes were 125 to 150 people. So there was, by the way, the biggest thing after the third glass of wine was not teaching, was crowd control.
Right, I'm sure.
And that's where the elementary education came in.
Yeah.
All right, everybody, look at me. I have eyes in the back of my head. I can see what you're doing. You're talking right now. You can't be talking because I'm talking. How can you talk when I'm talking? So to get through the 10 wines was sometimes difficult after the third class, but it worked. That's all I can say. And I want to bring that up because I don't know how much time you're going to leave me here. Probably you want to get rid of me by now.
No.
Send him off. Get rid of this kid.
We're going to have to, next time you come on, we're going to book 3 hours, man. We're going to go. We're going to do a Joe Rogan style. We're just going to just go.
So I'm sitting in March of I had just gotten back from Napa Valley.
Okay.
I was actually with Karen McNeil. I have a picture of it in the book, and John and Dorothy from the Wall Street Journal. We were with Warren Winarski, who the Stag's Leap Winery won the award at the Paris tasting. We were just at a dinner honoring them, and so I came back March 12th or whatever, 13th. We shut down. I'm saying, well, geez, okay, I do live classes. That's not going to work. But I had this book to do. So, the 16-page insert turned out to be 50 pages. March, April, May, and June. I handed it in just, what am I going to do? But then I get a phone call from one of my corporate clients, which is, by the way, thank you, God, for corporate clients who want to teach their clients about wine or do something in a wine and food, everything about wine and food. And he said, "Can you do it?" I said, I can't leave. I'm not. We got to shut down. Zoom. What? What's Zoom? And I'm not joking with you. I didn't know what Zoom was.
I knew about. I've been using Zoom since 2010. People did not know about Zoom until the pandemic.
Right.
It was like, I know Skype. I did a Skype once.
Skype I did.
Yeah.
But Zoom. Do it on Zoom. I'll get everybody together, and they'll be in their homes, and we'll put it together. I said, okay. So that's got me started, and then since the pandemic began, I've done 25 corporate lectures. But I started to say to myself, why can't I do the wine course?
Yeah.
And I just want you to know that I was a good kid, no doubt about it, being a good altar boy. So in the last 8 months, I've had 3,600 students take my Zoom wine class, and they send me money. It's called a GoFundMe Kevin account.
Oh, wow.
They send me money, and I've partnered with Wine.com. At a fluke. I can't even go into how that all happened. I didn't know Mike Osborne at the time. And so Wine.com in 2019 did $150 million worth of business. In 2020, $325 million. So we work together, Mike and I, and we choose the wines, and they 4 bottles, and they go to Wine.com and buy them. It's good for him. It's good for me.
Yep.
And so I even did an advanced class. I did red blends just last month. So now, tomorrow, I'm working with Mike, and we're planning out the fall. And it's not going to stop because it was actually, I was in 40 states,
right,
including Canada, so it's international.
Right, right.
Sure, Canadian. Canada is part of the country, or not? I keep forgetting.
It's part of the continent.
Oh, continent. Okay, good. I'm a continental wine school.
No, it's a different country, so it makes you international.
I'm international. Thank God, I finally got there.
They're there.
Well, that's a point that I say to my kids, by the way, and I'll say this to anybody, especially if you at the early age. Do you want to be local, national, or international? Yep. That's your first choice.
Yep.
And I wanted to be international. Yep. That's where the wine comes. Now I want to be local.
Yeah, right.
I don't want to leave DuPaul's. I came down just for you, man.
Well, we really do appreciate that. I was like, Karen was like, yeah, we've only done one remote, and that was with Paul Wasserman because he was in Burgundy and he didn't know he was coming. And I was like, it's okay. We'll wait. Right. If he comes next year, it's fine. We're not going anywhere. But I'm so glad that you made it here today. Oh my God. We gotta go. Shit, we gotta go. I hope you'll come back. I consider you a friend of the show. This could be the most fun too. For who you are, and you are who you are. But if someone doesn't know, Kevin Zraly, he wrote this book on wines, Winners of the World. So much fun. You were holding back. He was holding back. He could have ate me up, man. He could have tore me up.
I was gonna box with you.
I know. I do kettlebells, though, man. Kettlebell. I do I used to teach kickboxing. I used to teach Hapkido. But the kettlebell, that's a strong man's. That's all I'm saying. I'm wiry, man, but
Next time we'll talk about my boxing career with Floyd Patterson. And if you don't know who Floyd Patterson is, ladies and gentlemen, check him out.
Yeah.
Youngest world champion until
and he was
Muhammad
from
Ali.
Jersey though, so you know.
Yeah, but he ended up in New Paltz. True story.
I believe it, because I mean I don't know how I ended up back in Jersey, but I understand why he lives in New Paltz. Holy shit! I just had to say it. Oh my God. Kevin Zraly, thank you so much for coming here and sharing some stories with us, and just really everything you've done. Like I said, you are ground zero for all the Psalms out there. You are ground zero, like, and it's ironic because that's where you worked, but like literally in this world of wine education and service and hospitality, you're the guy in America. You're the guy. Before we go, I just want to ask one more question.
Oh yeah, it's always the final question.
It is.
Puts me on the spot.
What's the bottle of wine that really you were like, I know I'm doing wine? What was the bottle of wine that just?
Well, I'm very, very lucky on that because of, again, you write a book, you're at the restaurant that sells more wine than any restaurant, and that's a really hard question. But I have had every vintage Chateau Latour from 1900 all the way through, including wines from the 1800s. I'm going to say Chateau Latour. Of course, nobody can afford it now. So there's Les Forts de Latour. Nobody can afford
that
it now.
exactly.
Then they got Pauillac. Nobody can afford that now. So I just thank you for having me. That I hope to people that are listening that the passion is not gone. It's only gone further. And I am going to write one more book, just so you know.
I was going to ask you, what are you excited about?
Well, I'm going to write a book.
Okay.
This may be a good way to end. Okay. And I'm going to write a book, The 100 Best Wines in the World. Okay. Whatever. Chateau Latour, Mondavi, Heights, whatever it is. And I'm going to put descriptors in. This wine tastes like this. And I'm going to put the book out. But I'm never going to taste the wine. I'm just going to fake it with words. We never got to wine vocabulary, Grassy, citrus,
no. Listen, you're coming back.
Licorice.
You might come back and end season 3. Exactly. I mean,
I could fake that. I'm just letting you know. I'll be dead, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, when it comes out, so you can't get back to me.
Well,
I'll publish it then.
like I think there's a scene in the Psalm movies where the professor from Davis, she's like, the wine business, if there ever was a business with more bullshit in it. I mean, like I tell people, not that you bullshit, but if you say it with conviction,
right.
If you say, people are like, yeah, you're right. It does smell like my grandmother's big blueberry muffins. And they're not even thinking like, I never smelled your grandmother's, but he never smelled it. They're like, you're right. He said it with conviction. He's Kevin Zraly. It has to be true.
Just say the wine is very interesting.
Yeah, I tell it. That's what I tell people.
Interesting.
That's what I say when if I don't like it, I try not to diss a wine. I'm like, it's interesting. Because it is. And you have the same philosophy. See, we could go forever. It's not what, at the end of the day, your class are known for. It's what do you like, right? Like, you can give all the scriptures, but what do you like? It's in there. So,
actually, to let you know this, I've never rated a wine in my entire life with a numerical score. I worked with Robert Parker. I would work with the Wine Spectator, but I never put a number to a wine. And I also never used British poetry to describe wine, ever. It's you like it or you don't. That is the philosophy. And the other thing, I know we could go on and on. No one tastes anything alike. Listen to Mark Twain. You said Ernest Hemingway. I would probably go to Mark Twain next as writers. There's no answers when it comes to taste.
Yep.
So whether it's cigars or poetry or wine or whatever, there is no. That's why bullshit does exist in our business, because it's your opinion, which is fine. You have a right to your own opinion, and I have my opinion, and maybe we'll have a glass of wine together. Maybe we won't. Maybe I don't like you anymore.
Exactly.
But you finished the wine. I want to let everybody know we're getting off stage here right now, but that Heights Martha's Vineyard, 1968.
Held up.
And,
2 hours, man.
And look at the sediment. Though.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I eat the sediment, by the way, so don't throw it out.
No, I got it. I'll save it for you.
Yeah. So,
Kevin Zraly, thank you so much. Tell people where they can find you and how they can be a part of what you're doing.
kevinzraly.com. It's pretty simple. And those classes, we're doing advanced and master. We're doing a master class. We're working on that tomorrow. But the other, you can just take one class or the 6-week class. It's one of the 6-week classes. And it's not actually that expensive when you look at it. You send $50 for me to pay for my children's tuition. And then you pay, basically it's less than $100 for wine.com. So you got $150 purchase. You get 6 people together. It's nothing. And they sit in their living room. I have people of 10 watching. I have people have dinner with it. I give food suggestions. Try it with this. Anyhow, that's where you get.
So stop buying those janky internet wine tasting courses, and you can have your friends over and you can sit down with the guy who started it all. Kevin Zraly, thank you so much for being here. Everybody, until the next time, cheers to the Mavericks, the philosophers, the deep thinkers, and all you wine drinkers, cheers.